In the beginning, there was nothing. Then God spoke and everything changed. He created the heavens and the earth. He made the sun, the moon, and the stars. He separated the land from the sea and filled the world with plants and animals. God looked at all that he had made, and it was good, but something was missing. God wanted someone to share his creation with. So on the sixth day, God created man and woman in his own image. He named them Adam and Eve. God gave Adam and Eve dominion over all the creatures of the earth. He placed them in a beautiful garden called Eden and told them to eat from any tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so the world began, bathed in the light of creation and filled with the promise of a bright future. Adam and Eve lived happily in the Garden of Eden. They tended to the animals and walked with God in the cool of the day. But one day, everything changed. A serpent, a creature of cunning and deceit, approached Eve. He questioned God's command, tempting Eve with the fruit of the forbidden tree. The serpent promised that if she ate the fruit, she would become like God, knowing good and evil. Eve was tempted by the serpent's words. She saw that the fruit was pleasing to the eye and desired to make her wise. She took a bite and then gave some to Adam, who also ate. Immediately their eyes were opened. They realized their nakedness and felt shame for the first time. God, who had been walking in the garden, knew what they had done. God confronted Adam and Eve about their disobedience. He cursed the serpent, promising enmity between him and the woman's offspring. Eve was given pain in childbirth, and Adam was cursed to toil and labor for his food. They were banished from the Garden of Eden, their paradise lost. Life outside the Garden of Eden was hard. Adam and Eve had to work the land to survive. They faced challenges and hardships they had never known before. They had children, but sin had entered the world, casting a long shadow over their lives. Cain, their firstborn, became a farmer. Abel, his younger brother, became a shepherd. One day they brought offerings to God. God favored Abel's offering, but not Cain's. Consumed by jealousy and anger, Cain killed his own brother. God punished Cain, cursing him to wander the earth as a fugitive. Eve gave birth to another son, Seth, who would become the ancestor of a righteous line. Generations passed, and the world became increasingly wicked. God saw the darkness in the hearts of humanity and regretted creating them. He decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood. However, there was one righteous man named Noah. God instructed Noah to build a massive ark to save himself, his family, and 2 of every kind of animal from the coming destruction. Rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights. The waters rose, covering the mountains and destroying everything on earth except for Noah and those with him on the ark. When the floodwaters receded, God made a covenant with Noah, promising never to destroy the earth with a flood again. The rainbow became a symbol of God's promise. After the flood, Noah's descendants multiplied and spread across the earth. They began to build cities and establish civilizations. But they also began to forget God and his commands. Instead of trusting in God, they put their faith in their own strength and ingenuity. They decided to build a tower so high that it would reach the heavens. They believed this tower would make them famous and prevent them from being scattered across the earth. God saw their arrogance and pride. He knew that their hearts were far from him. To thwart their plans, God confused their languages. They could no longer understand each other, making it impossible to continue building the tower. The people were scattered across the earth, forming different nations and speaking different languages. The tower became a symbol of human pride and the futility of trying to reach God through human effort alone. Section 5, Abraham's journey of faith. Centuries later, God called a man named Abram to leave his home in Mesopotamia and journey to a new land that he would show him. God promised to make Abram a great nation and to bless him abundantly. Abram obeyed God's call. Even though he didn't know where he was going, he traveled with his wife, Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all his possessions. God led them to the land of Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. God changed Abram's name to Abraham, which means father of many nations. He promised that Abraham would be the father of a great people and his descendants would inherit the land of Canaan. However, Abraham and Sarah were old and childless. Despite their doubts, God kept his promise. Sarah miraculously gave birth to a son, Isaac. God tested Abraham's faith by asking him to sacrifice Isaac as a burnt offering. Abraham obeyed God, but at the last moment, God provided a ram to take Isaac's place. Abraham's faith was a testament to his unwavering trust in God. His willingness to sacrifice his son demonstrated the depth of his belief and obedience. This story became a foundational narrative for understanding faith and God's faithfulness. Section 6. Isaac, Esau, and a father's blessing. Isaac grew up and married Rebekah. They had twin sons, Esau and Jacob. Esau was a skillful hunter, and the firstborn son. Jacob was a quiet man, more inclined to stay at home. One day, Esau came in from the field, famished from hunting. Jacob was preparing a lentil stew. Esau begged Jacob for some stew, saying, "I am about to die of hunger." Jacob saw an opportunity and said, "Sell me your birthright." Esau, desperate for food, agreed. Years later, Isaac, now old and blind, prepared to bestow his blessing on Esau, his firstborn. Rebekah, who favored Jacob, overheard Isaac's plan and intervened. She disguised Jacob as Esau and tricked Isaac into giving Jacob the blessing intended for his brother. When Esau discovered what had happened, he was furious. He vowed to kill Jacob. Rebekah, fearing for Jacob's life, sent him away to live with her brother Laban in Haran. Section 7. Jacob, Rachel, and a family divided. Jacob journeyed to Haran and fell in love with Rachel, Laban's younger daughter. Laban agreed to give Rachel to Jacob in marriage if he worked for him for 7 years. Jacob agreed, such was his love for Rachel. However, on their wedding night, Laban tricked Jacob into marrying his older daughter Leah. Jacob was furious when he discovered the deception, but agreed to work another 7 years for Laban in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. Jacob had 12 sons and 1 daughter with Leah, Rachel, and their handmaids. These sons would become the 12 tribes of Israel. After many years, Jacob decided to return to his homeland. He feared his brother Esau's anger, but longed to see his family again. Jacob sent messengers ahead to Esau, offering gifts and seeking reconciliation. The brothers met, and Esau, to Jacob's relief, had forgiven him. They embraced, and the long-standing feud between them was finally over. Section 8. Joseph and the coat of many colors. Jacob loved all his children, but he especially favored Joseph, his 11th son. He gave Joseph a beautiful multicolored coat as a token of his love. Joseph's brothers, jealous of their father's favoritism and angered by Joseph's dreams that seemed to foretell his future dominance over them, conspired against him. One day, when Joseph's brothers were tending their flocks in a distant field, they saw Joseph approaching. They seized him, tore off his coat, and threw him into a dry cistern. They planned to leave him there to die, but then decided to sell him to a passing caravan of traders heading for Egypt. The traders took Joseph to Egypt and sold him as a slave to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Joseph, through a series of events, found himself imprisoned on false accusations. However, God was with Joseph, and he found favor even in prison. Section 9. Forgiveness and a family reunited. Meanwhile, a severe famine had struck the land of Canaan. Jacob sent his sons to Egypt to buy grain. They arrived in Egypt and stood before the powerful governor, unaware that he was their long-lost brother Joseph. Joseph recognized his brothers immediately, but they did not recognize him. After testing their hearts and seeing their remorse for their past actions, Joseph revealed his true identity. The brothers were overjoyed and filled with remorse. Joseph forgave them, saying, "Do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." Joseph brought his father Jacob and the entire family to Egypt. They settled in the land of Goshen, where they prospered under Joseph's protection. The story of Joseph and his brothers is a powerful testament to the themes of forgiveness, reconciliation, and the enduring power of family.